able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Rob Davin here with the Jungle Apocalypse. And tonight we have quite the show coming forth. Scott Owen returns for a discussion about all the recent Earth changes we've had since the start of 2012. We're only 2 weeks in now, and we're getting reports of weird sounds around the globe. We're getting dead fish. It's raining fish in some places. We're going to be talking about that. It's just absolutely going crazy out there. So I want to thank all of you in the chat room for joining us and all the listeners that are listening live. Just going to call Scott up on the line here and get Aaron on the line, and we'll get into this.
Okay, I'm using one of my old broken headsets, so yeah, I don't know what happened.
Okay, not a problem at all, Scott. So, okay, well, we got Aaron Allen on the line, and Scott Owen is here. So,
hey, Scott.
Hey, what's up, Aaron?
Not much, you?
Oh, a lot, man. I'm just working my buns off.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay. Sorry, I was screwing around with something. I wasn't paying attention. So
That's all right. Hey, Aaron, you're over on the East Coast, aren't you?
Yeah, Montreal. Yeah.
Yeah, if I get over near there, can you come across the border?
Maybe. Yeah.
Wow, that'd be cool.
We're in New York.
I don't know. I don't care. If I get one of these 30-day or 60-day bus passes, man, I'm just gonna hit everything, man.
Okay. Well, let me know when you get up here. Yeah. Well, I'll bring the wife.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, bring Sonia along, man. That'd be really rocking. Make some videos.
Yeah, I was gonna say, make sure you make some videos of that.
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, I'm going to go over to Washington, D.C. here probably in a month or so, or whenever everything gets all squared away. So, but
you might want to wait like a few weeks. It's pretty blistery here. It's like 30 below. We just had a blizzard. And
all right, well, let's get into the show a little bit here, Scott. We had you on New Year's Eve, and it was funny that what happened that night. BB, Arkansas, we had the birds fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
There was a few other things I think that happened the next day too. Wasn't there some earthquakes or something?
Well, yeah, we've had a lot of things happen already, and USGS is already starting to cover them up. You know, your worldwide disaster site showed 2 7+ earthquakes happening over in Sumatra, Indonesia, and then and USGS only showed 1, and then you had 3 that RSE EDS showed hitting Japan, and they were all 7.0s, different times. Today we had 5 earthquakes reported, 6.2 and higher in magnitude, and this time it was down there on the other side of the planet, down in the South Pole area. But you know, USGS only reported 2 happening. I think one was a 6.5 and a 6.2, but you know, they're starting to shuffle the information a lot now, and this is really uncool. What can you do, though? You know, they don't want to start a panic or whatever, and I don't want to start a panic either.
Do they usually do that?
Very rarely. Well, they'll do it for money reasons. You know, if a quake hits, it's a 6, then state funds go in. If it's a 7, then you get federal funds. But you know, a lot of times they mass a lot of quakes because of lack of knowledge. You know, NASA's handling the space quakes, and USGS is just sitting there scratching their head. They don't understand it. These guys aren't getting together. None of them are on the same page.
Let me guess, NASA doesn't report space quakes?
Correct. I mean, they do. They show it right there on their site. I mean, I showed it in a video, the difference between a space quake and an earthquake, and that was right from NASA's own website. You know, they just don't pass the info through.
How does that happen? Like, it interacts with the ionosphere or something and causes some kind of quake up there?
Well, the magnetic field overlaps and slaps out in space, and it generates a space quake. You know, they could get as high as a 6. And that's from the air. I remember the one they had over in San Diego some time ago, and it was registered as a 4.5 by all the people in this 140-mile square range area. And USGS just put a question mark to it and said, sonic boom? You know, they didn't know.
So it manifests in the form of like a boom or in the sky or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, these were going on back in the 70s. This was Bell Hall booms. There was like 1,200 spacequakes back then. That's Carter's administration. Yeah, and there's a video right on YouTube. You can pull it up and listen to it. It's a trip. That's when orbital rotation was handed over to the Department of the Navy. So you basically have this juncture between NASA and USGS, which is the Department of the Navy, because they're handling the orbital wobble and rotation.
And have they been increasing over the last little while since we've been getting more earthquakes?
Oh yeah, you know you see them happening all over the place now. You know, and a lot of them that happen out over the ocean because the Earth's more ocean. Yeah. You know, covered in ocean. You know, so those don't even get reported. And then you look at all the fish death already this year. You know, we've had a bunch of fish come up dead in the Bahamas. We've had
Norway.
Norway, 20 tons, and that one. There was a major landslide up in that area. That area is expanding, and you know it's a trip when you have the Princess of Japan come out and say, you know, there's underworld people and all this stuff and everything, and she's
underworld people.
Oh yeah, this chick was just throwing it out there, man. You haven't seen that video yet? That one was a trip.
No,
but she was saying.
That.
Yeah, she was talking about UFO people, and you know, at the end of 2012, we're going to go through this 3-day night period, and we're going to be zapped away into another universe or solar system or whatever. Yeah, serious.
Oh
man.
yeah.
You remember that?
Underworld people, as in like Hollow Earth, or?
Yeah, well, you know what? That Hollow Earth thing is so overrated. Basically, you can have huge, massive areas in the crust that can support, you know, life that can be the size of 2 or 3 continents in length, and like, I don't know, 20 miles high inside the crust. We got witness of that in Scripture when the seas broke and it swallowed up the water. So, you know, there's big empty, you know, holes down in there.
What, like 20,000 feet or 30,000 feet down, or?
Who knows, man? You know, it's getting weird. You know, who knows now?
There's a lot of there's a lot about that in the old native mythology and stuff. Like in South America, some of them say that the Hopis and all that. They say they came out, they originated from out of the middle of the earth.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's the middle of the earth. I think it's just some area underground that, you know, can support life, you know. But it's a trip, though. I sit back and it gets weirder and weirder as you hear the groaning of the earth. I mean, the earth is groaning. She's groaning. I mean, big time.
So that are we getting close to this? All these weird sounds that are going on, the trumpets of Jericho or whatever in the sky?
Well, these are sounds that haven't been heard for a long time. You know, the Earth's going through a major expansion event right now. Yeah. Now that the Russian scientists confirmed that all the Arctic summer ice is going to be gone in 3 years, man, that's not even a split second Earth time. and that's a conveyor belt for your whole weather system. We got big problems.
Yeah, because that's going to deliver all kinds of fresh water into the ocean and screw up the conveyor belt.
Oh yeah, and right now they just made a big announcement on these glaciers that are melting, that the rivers are moving 5 to 10 times faster than the glaciers. And I'm going like, holy smokes. And they're saying that the rivers are going the wrong direction. And I'm going like, man. Yeah, so there's some big dynamics to this stuff. You know, the Earth is going to create a new river system for itself to circulate the water. It's going to open areas up that weren't open before. It's kind of like that cruise liner that got run aground the other day over there by Italy. And that area is all kinds of geodamage right now. And one of my subs, you know, emailed me and said, Scott, you know, the bottom of that ocean floor probably rose up. And I go, yeah, that's a real possibility. I mean, you got volcanoes going off over there, and the ground's sinking in other areas, you know, like Venice. And that place is sinking. You got the Dead Sea's sinking. You got all kinds of different weird anomalies happening all over the place over there. And on top of that, you got the magnetic field problem. It's messing up the GPSs. Now they're redoing the runways over there in where now, Arkansas or Alabama or something. I just saw it posted on YouTube. But you know they're changing runways now.
That's for the magnetic field, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know that boat could have been thrown off by GPS, or it could have ran aground because that area was lower before.
Yeah.
Just rose up.
So these videos they have this sound coming from the sky. Rob sent me one yesterday from Concton, Alberta. These workmen were working in the forest, and it sounds like it sounds like trumpets in the sky or something. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, doesn't it, man? You know, it's just like the truth is stranger than fiction. Mm-hmm. And you get these massive microbursts, you know, that can whistle through these canyon ranges. We're going to see some crazy weather. Now, I'll tell you something that you haven't seen before, okay, because it was the first for me. It was raining fish yesterday. Can you imagine that?
I've heard of that before. I've heard of that happening before.
In the Philippines, it was raining fish. Kind of like those apples over in the United Kingdom last year. You know, they rained all over that area.
Raining apples?
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't catch that one last year? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was pretty intense. Where it dropped them over in the UK, it dropped them somewhere there. Eh? Like the theory was that some sort of vortex sucked them up into the air and flung them, I don't know, a couple miles the other way.
Yeah, and the same thing could be happening with the birds. You know, they're just kicking back somewhere and then suck.
Yeah.
Spin them somewhere else. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I've got those noises here. Do you guys want to start going through a little bit about what's going on with the noises?
Yeah, because you got the board and we can play with it. Yeah. Oh, did you put the link to the sound thingy so everyone else can play around with it?
No, I'm going to put it in the show notes and on the comments or in the description on YouTube there so everybody can get it. We're going to make all these files available to everybody, and there's free software that you can use, and you'll be able to do the analysis yourself and see if you come up with something different than what we did. Okay, well, first off, I'm going to play this one. I've got two different ones that I picked out, and then I compared them to some other things we'll get into. But the first one I'm going to play here is from Santiago, Chile, and this was recorded September of 2011. So, hold on. Okay, so that's pretty much it. It doesn't really sound that great. I had to play with it a lot to get the levels up to do the enhanced version.
I get the idea. If that was happening to the sky here, I would be like, what the hell is that? Sounds like somebody's blowing the lip of a bottle.
Yeah, it's strange, and for that sound to echo that far, it must have been at least amplified of some sort. Like that one really sounds like a trumpet. I got the enhanced version here. I'm going to play that right now. Okay, so there we go. That's the enhanced version. You can clearly it sounds like some sort of horn. So I'm wondering if this is some sort of hoax.
Yeah, a lot of people in the comments section of these videos were saying that it was a hoax. And the one, did you see the one at the baseball field there, the Rays or something?
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, the commentator said, what's that? What's that? You know. Then somebody says, somebody shut the door. And yeah, I found it kind of strange because nobody in the stadium seemed to be reacting to the sound, you know.
Well, and I think that's the problem here is that while there's some videos that there's a lot of truth to or whatever, there's a lot of fake ones out there because it is a pretty easy hoax to pull off. And that kind of brings us to our next one from Conklin, Alberta. Now, the first time I heard it, it creeped me out. What'd you think of it, Scott?
Yeah, that was a pretty intense sounding thing, you know. and for everyone in the chat and stuff, man, we're wide open, you know, to people's thoughts on this thing, whether it was harp induced or whatever, man. I mean, we even had that Phobos grunt fall down yesterday, and we've had some satellites take a dump here over this last year. Maybe we could, you know, see if this sound anomaly sounds like a meteor or something coming into orbit, or one of these satellites coming down through the orbit. You know, it makes like a vacuum sound. Mm-hmm. You know, so everything's open, man. Let's try to figure out this fun little Rubik's Cube we got here.
Exactly. Okay, well, I'm going to play the Conklin one. This is just the regular version with no enhancements.
Very deep.
So yeah.
If that one's fake, it's very well done because the birds seem to be reacting to the sound.
Well, that's one of the things I found in the enhancement of it. I'm going to put this these files up in the download section for this show, but you can see on I can pull up a spectrograph of the sound, and you can look at the two different sounds, and they're totally different. There's no way that it was hoaxed. There was a lot of people that were saying that it was from the game Skyrim. There's some dragon sounds in that game that apparently sound a lot like this, so I went through and I have the analysis of that to play here in a minute too. But when you enhance it, you can clearly hear the interaction between the birds and the surroundings with the sound, so like the echoes and everything.
Exactly, yeah.
So, okay, well, I'll play the enhanced version and see what they think. Okay, so there we go. That's the enhanced version of the sound. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't think that one's phony. I mean, they have to do the birds too, and they definitely react to it. Start chirping like hell when it comes up.
What was interesting about the sound of it was it sounded like wind was being sucked in somewhere and then thrown back out, and it was a very, you can hear it go. It almost sounded like a missile going forward, but it was really probably some kind of vortex of wind going forward, and then all of a sudden it reversed in on itself, and it made more like a trumpet blast. But man, that is some really interesting sound. And these sounds are the same. That other one was down there in Brazil. This one was up here in Canada. And I don't even need a mixing board to know that these sounds are very similar in nature. And I'm going like, And that one that happened over Costa Rica the other day, we also had some seismic events happen, with all of these sound things, one way or the other. Some were delayed things, but nevertheless, man, we're getting weird, strange things happening around the planet. It's kind of like that volcano up there in Iceland right now, the Kaltia. I mean, it's showing signs. It's starting to do static discharges. People are starting to see the lights. That means that it's going to go. And it's sitting in a glacier, and that glacier is packed with nuclear fallout. And that thing's going to melt that glacier instantly and throw that ass straight up. And, Europe is going to get screwed again. They're going to get hit with nuclear fallout again because it's in the ice cores, and just, wow, there's a lot of it. And then all the rest of that nuclear waste is just going to pour right into the Atlantic Ocean. And it probably just stalled the current out. I don't see why it hasn't stalled already. It's going to throw England into an ice age. This is a done deal. I mean, people are not awake. They need to wake up. You know that what was that video series you uploaded the other day, Rob? What was that guy's name? Something More? John Moore?
John Moore? Yeah.
Yeah.
Global warming, what the government isn't telling you. You can just do a search on YouTube and watch the whole documentary, or the whole seminar, I guess.
Yeah, that #2 video in that series, was some really great info. And what he was looking at was he was getting intel. He was definitely getting intel from some superiors. There's no doubt about it. But he wasn't a scientist. He doesn't know how this thing works. And I think when they got that report, they were kind of flying in the dark too. This is new science. We're rewriting the textbooks over here at the Underground. I mean, it's been documented right in the videos, man. I mean, and this, we're going to see more and more weird, bizarre anomalies. Now, they had a volcano start burping right after the Costa Rica earthquake or event the other day, and the one over here in Canada, I think you had an earthquake happen on Cascadia.
Yeah, there was one there.
Yeah, they may have a connection there too. So this land is shifting; it's growing. Well, it could be like, say you got a key and you got all these tumblers, and when you put the key through, all these tumblers will move up or down, and that's what's happening right now. And who knows what kind of toxic gas can get released, or openings in the earth. I mean, who knows, man?
Yeah, exactly. Just before we jump on to anything else, I want to. One of the main things about the one from Conklin, Alberta, that I keep getting comments about it, that it sounds like a dragon in this game, Skyrim. So I went, got the game, and extracted some of the dragon sounds. So I'm going to play one of the dragon sounds, and then the next sound I'm going to play them back to back, and so everybody can hear the difference between the Skyrim one and the sound in Conklin. Well, that doesn't sound quite right. For some reason, the dragon sound's not playing quite right, so I guess we're going to have to just put that up for download so you can listen to it after. But if you listen to it, it's totally different, so that negates that argument.
Yeah.
Okay, so going on, Scott.
Yeah.
Now, with these mass animal deaths, like the fish washing up on the shores of Norway, is that from like gas escaping underground?
The more of that stuff is, you got multiple dynamics happening on the ocean. The main thing that's killing the fish is the oxygen. They've got the oxygen's being sucked out of the Atlantic, the Indian, and Pacific Oceans. I put a video up on that 2 years ago on YouTube, but nobody was talking about what I was talking about. They were all over the place, and I'm going like, man. People, you got big troubles ahead.
What causes the oxygen depletion?
Well, they're getting hit with a variety of things. First off, they turned the ocean into a garbage dump. I mean, literally. And I mean, they have dumped nuclear waste in the ocean for 50 years. I mean, they just throw it in the first free hole they could find. They just dump it right into the ocean.
Yeah, it's safe. They can hide it that way.
Yeah, they could just dump it right off the board. I have articles from years ago, on Russia. They just scuttled 57 ships of nuclear waste right in the ocean. They didn't care. They've been dumping that stuff in the ocean forever. That stuff is not clean energy, never has been, never will be, and it's the most toxic stuff that ever existed on this planet. it's absolutely criminal. And now you got all these nuclear power plants, 440 of them globally, in an Earth expansion event. Yeah, that's not good news. And when the United Nations General Secretary comes out and point blank tells them we're going to see more nuclear meltdowns, I'm going like, yeah, he's absolutely right, you know. And people aren't paying attention. They're just going whatever. We're going to see more. I mean, wow.
Yeah,
you look at the lower section of the United States, and I mean, me and Rob have been talking about the 2030 report since the first video or first radio show we did together, and you know, nobody's aware of that report. And I have it right there in my faves right now. You know, it's number 2. I just put it up there. But that report was basing all its information on the Arctic summer ice. And they stated that, you know, boats will be able to go from the Atlantic to the Pacific and vice versa by the year 2080. And when I saw that, I just shook my head because I knew that was a lie. It happened in 2005. It happened again in 2009. Now, and the other numbers they were using on that report, the 2030 report, was the Arctic summer ice would be gone by the year 2100. Well, they just came out and confirmed that it's going to be all gone by the year 2015. And I said that 2 years ago. You know, I'm going, no, this stuff's melting super fast. Those numbers stink. I mean, I took on right on TV, man. I was on C-SPAN telling them about this stuff. I took on the governor of Michigan right on C-SPAN too. Yeah, I mean, and then uploaded the video so everyone could get a laugh. You know, just tore them up. But you know, they're clueless. They're absolutely clueless. And that report makes everything under the 40th parallel now second world by their numbers. It's considered second world. You know, so they're only expecting problems from here on out, and so do I. You look at Texas; it's going to be drought central. You know, this is just what happens when the conveyor belt stops. You know, and from one ocean with the United Kingdom and the other ocean with your El Nino and El Niñas, and then when you get all this water, this fresh water, cold water, it boogies in. You know, it's like an ice skater. She has her hands above her head. She has that weight above her, and you know, she spins and spins and spins. But once she puts her arms to the side, you know, inertia takes over, and she starts to slow down. And it doesn't take much of a slowdown. And when you start slowing the rotation of this Earth, even just microseconds, it starts to cause the mantle to expand. You know, there's the heat inside that lava. We got bad conditions.
Do you think this expansion is result of what we just heard from Conklin, Alberta? Like that?
It can definitely be the rocks themselves moaning. You know, it's a trip because you got like when Christ is coming in and they go, hey man, if you told these people to stop singing because they were singing Hallelujah and stuff, the rocks would cry out. You know?
Yeah, that's right
they
too.
Could be crying out, man.
Yeah. Well, we've gotten quite a few people in the chat room asking us if we have the comparison between the sound in Conklin and the sound in Kiev, Ukraine. And I've got it queued up here, so I'm going to play the Kiev one first for a few minutes, and then I'll play the Conklin one, and we can discuss the results. This is Kiev, Ukraine, from last year. Okay, so that was Kiev, and as you can notice in the video version, there's people walking around, but they don't seem to be paying too much attention to it. But it's hard to separate the background noise from the, like, say if somebody composed it or made it all up, it would be hard to insert that sound so fluidly in with the rest of the surroundings. So there's something going on here. Now, I'll just play the Conklin one again so people can be reminded. So yeah, as you can hear, they sound awfully similar. So I think what we have here is some sort of real event.
Yeah, there must be something to it.
Yeah, and it's being repeated throughout the globe. So, you know, it could be expansion, you know, very easily. I mean, the Earth's expanding. Everybody knows it, man. You know, it was in National Geographic. Heck, it's so obvious. And what happens when it expands, you know?
So you're saying it's growing?
Oh, yeah, the Earth's growing. She's rebounding on top. You know, you had 4 hectares of land pop out of the ocean the other day up there in Russia. I mean, a lot of that sea up there is going to be turned into land. You know, the seas are receding up there like crazy. And they have been for years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've talked about all this stuff. I'm going like, you know, everyone's attention was, they've never heard of post-glacial rebound effect or isotonic adjustment or isostasy or geodesy. They've never heard of any of that stuff. I just wanted to stay focused on the ice. The stuff's melting. And every time it does, we have big problems.
Okay, so if the North and South poles are melting at what kind of rate is this? Like, how many percentage-wise a year?
Well, right now, 97% of the Arctic summer sea ice is gone. So, really? You know, yeah. So with that and land expanding, wouldn't the oceans be rising at an alarming level? No, the oceans are sinking. You know, and heck, they even came out on the History Channel and said a new synopsis being fast-tracked by scientists is that ice or water is heavier than ice, and that when these glaciers melt, they actually push down on the ocean floor and trigger faults. And I've been saying that for years on YouTube. I mean, it's just common sense.
But so the water deep down in the ocean is going, like, absorbing into the earth? Is that it, or like?
Yeah, it's sinking the ocean. It's sinking the islands. About 4 months ago, NASA came out and said, you know, we had no sea level rise last year, yet we had a record melt. You know, the ocean fell, the sea level fell. You know, on all the continents, the sea levels fell. On the islands, forget about it. They're sinking. See, when those islands are just mountains, and those mountains are connected to the ocean floor. Yeah. And when that ocean floor sinks, it pulls that mountain down with it. So, you know, like Vanuatu, Tuvalu, Duke, Earl Islands, they're all sinking. They're not sea level rise. They're sinking. I mean, during the last water age, 20,000 years ago, before your ice age, roughly, you know, the ocean sea levels fell 120 meters. They dropped. This is major weight. If they're heavy enough to sink entire continents, like you take Greenland, it's rebounded out of the ocean over 2 feet now. Last year, it rebounded in 5 months, 0.83 inches. So it almost came out of the ocean a whole inch. And we're talking a continent, folks. We're not talking an island. We're talking a continent the size of the United States. And
very big.
This is a lot of weight. You know, and it lost 500 gigatons. Yeah, I mean, a gigaton is 1 billion tons. This is major weight, and people don't get that. They think of it as water. It's not. It's weight, and that weight leaves that land and goes into the ocean, which is all land as well. That's a big weight you're sticking on there. It was heavy enough to sink those continents. During the last ice age, it's more than heavy enough to sink geofragile zones in your ocean. A piece of cake, man. And that's why all these volcanoes are all popping. The volcanic activity's up, 540% since I came on YouTube and said, man, you're just going to see volcanoes like crazy. It's pushing the magma. It's a magma push. And Iceland can't blow up enough. That water's pulling over there. It's called the wild card. It didn't go anywhere. It's stuck. And it's going to stall that current. And the UK's done. That's why their economy's getting jacked right now.
Well, like you always say, follow the money, right?
There it is. They're not going to invest in an area that's going to be jacked. They'll come in later, after it defrosts.
Yep, come in, clean up, and walk away with all the money while the rest of us all drowned.
Sure.
Yep.
Pretty much, yeah.
Nice guys.
Oh, yeah, they're brilliant. And I got to love how people run around and just worship the ground they walk on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's disgusting. Oh, the royal family.
Oh.
They're getting married.
Yeah.
Let's run over to England and wave our little Union Jacks or Union Jacobs.
Well, it's funny because after they got married, they came up here for a northern visit, and apparently, for some reason, the city that's pretty much, can't fix the roads decided to turn around and give them some diamonds from the north, and apparently it was the most valued gift that was given to them. So here we have a place where we can't fix the roads, we can't get them to build an alcohol and drug treatment center, we can't get them to build decent schools, nothing, but they can turn around and give these pricks a bunch of diamonds worth a bunch of money that, just flew out of our pocket.
Yeah, they own the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could you imagine what we could do with that kind of money, to enhance alternative media or say the efforts I'm doing or Aaron doing, just like, dang, and they just pass it like it's a soda, Yeah.
Well, and this is another thing that I've noticed a lot is certain people are having a really hard time because we got so many trolls coming after them for asking for a little bit of money. People seem to think that, the alternative media should be 100% free. They never should have to give any money to help out.
Yeah.
But they want us to fight against guys that have millions and millions and billions of dollars and unlimited resources.
That's a shame.
Yeah, and put in 60-hour weeks.
Yeah, put in 60-hour weeks for no pay and pay all the hosting costs and the equipment costs and the software costs out of your own pocket. Yeah. And don't dare ask for any help, because if you do, you're a shill and you're being paid by the government and getting rich.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Anybody who's listened to my channel or the radio shows, they have been enriched, and the poor are rich in faith and heirs to the kingdom of God. So
exactly.
I mean, you could get the information out. We freely give it. Freely it's given, and man, get the word out.
Yep.
If
Share
that's
it.
all the resources you got is to get the word out that way, man, do it.
Yep.
I mean, there's nothing to lose. All my stuff, all the science is backed up, and with the predictions too.
Well, that's
I mean,
the thing,
Rob, how many times have I been wrong over these years?
I can't honestly think of one time that you've told me something that didn't come true, a few months later, or was, just happening. It's
just
rare.
science.
Well, and that's the thing with the alternative media is everybody wants to chase the new, shocker of the week, Comet Elenin or Nibiru or Comet Honda or, all this crap that never seems to have any basis in science. And then when they hear somebody like you that's giving them the science and saying, look, we're in trouble, a portion of them anyway, take off and go listen to some sort of bullshit about ghosts or something.
Yeah, you know, but at least, you know, the blood's not on my hands. You know, the warning's gone out.
Exactly.
You know, I don't want the blood on my hands. That's why I walked away from the USGS grant years ago, man. I mean, that's you can't be held, you know, in confidentialities and stuff when you got to get it's on your hands then, man. You're stuck with it. It's like, dang. And then no platforms, no nothing. And man, wow, I went through all kinds of abuse, you know. And you know, I had my mom call into the radio show a couple weeks ago, and I go, okay, Mom, when did I go to college? You know, she goes, when you were 12. I go, what college did I go to? You know, Occidental. I'm going like, duh. You know, I've been saying this for years. I was in all kinds of colleges and everything else. I'm like, I mean, dang. And you know, anything they can do to disbelieve whatever, man. But this stuff's happening, and this Earth is in some big doo-doo. I mean, they're not chemtrailing your face day in and day out for your health.
Yeah, exactly. Barium and aluminum is not good for you.
So why are they doing those chemtrails? Is like to protect us from radiation, maybe?
Yeah, solar radiation. You know, the ozone's got major holes in it now.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, because they've poked so many holes in our protective ozone layer.
Well, you remember before Fukushima, and heck, you were on. We talked years ago with Harp Cloud and everything else. And I was talking about the nuclear fallout. That's what's causing your holes and stuff. And you know, sure enough, man, 3 weeks after Fukushima blows, you know, a new report comes out. Oh, there's a new 40% hole in our ozone. You know. Man, these things are like shooting a bullet out of a gun when they explode. And people don't understand that. The heavier material basically almost vaporizes. But you're talking gamma radiation, man. It just keeps going. And it's going like 1,000 miles a second. It just fries the ozone. It just irradiates it. And those power plants burn at over 3 million degrees. It's the hottest. It's hotter than the core of this planet, man. It's like releasing hell on Earth. Yeah.
It's hotter than the sun.
Yeah, so nice of them, aren't they? You know.
They're so beautiful. But also, isn't the magnetic field depleting too because of some kind of pole shift going on, or?
Well, you have that right out of NASA, and I reported on that 10 months ago. And you know, there's a gigantic breach in your magnetic field.
Right.
You know, you're in orbital wobble, man.
And this has happened before because they have a way of measuring, like through the history, which way the polarity was going through volcanic rock that just went into the ocean or pottery, and at different times in the Earth's history, in our history, the North Pole was South Pole, and at other times it was North. You know what I mean? Like it switches like very quickly.
Well, you know, that's the last thing we got to worry about. I mean, heck, everything else that takes place.
If that's happening, then while the poles are shifting, the magnetic field it goes down a lot, so then we're vulnerable to the cosmic radiation.
Oh yeah, well we're in trouble. I mean, what do you want me to say, man? I mean, it's only going to get worse from here.
What do we do? Build an ark?
No, they ain't going to help.
Build an ark, eh?
Well, my advice is run to God, man. And the thing is you look at these idols that they're worshiping. You know, I've been talking about this a lot more now. You know, since people just don't get it. It's like AIG, you know, American Insurance Group, and they bail them out, and they call it, you know, they're too big to fail. Is the wording that they use. Well, wait a second. If this is a person, because it's got legal rights of a person. That's what an incorporation has. It has legal rights of a person and constitutional rights. Okay, if that's not enough, it's too big to fail. and you're not. In other words, that makes that person a higher power, a power greater than yourself. And since it's not alive, it's an idol. It's made of wood. It's a piece of paper. That's it. You know, it's like Christ. You know, they nailed him to the cross, that wooden idol, and then put on top of the, you know, this is the King of the Jews. They weren't talking about Christ. They were talking about themselves, man. Their money system, man. This is what you worship, stupids. You know, the sheep have always been that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they crucify their own Messiah. Too much, man. But these players have been doing this all the time, man.
Yeah,
I mean, at least Christ was bold enough to toss their tables, man. Flip the money changers' tables, man. He's my bro. Shoot.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but it was okay when Jesus did that, but you know, we shouldn't do that these days because of, you know, we have to submit, Scott.
Oh yeah, you've been Borged. You know?
Welcome to the cube.
Yeah, you're in the collective.
Yeah, we're owned and operated right from cradle to grave.
Well, yeah, that's like you know, somebody was saying, well, if all this conspiracy stuff is true, why do we have laws and, you know, police and all these wonderful things in society? And I was like, well, because, man, if you're a slave, they don't want their property hurt, right? Like you don't go out and kick your machines. You try to keep their lives somewhat manageable, so they'll do your bidding, and that's exactly what they've done to us.
Yeah, most of the laws are self-serving for them.
Well, that's just it. I mean, it doesn't matter what happens if they want to come after you for illegal something, they'll find something to come after you for.
Yeah.
There's always a way around it, but I guess that's just the way it goes with laws. We're coming up on an hour here. You guys want to take a quick break and we'll get back to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Well, folks, we'll be back in about 10 minutes.
This kitten got your tongue tied in knots to see. Spit it out, 'cause I'm dying for company.
everybody in the Gulf of Mexico start moving the heck up. Follow the contractors, for Christ's sakes. Look at where the money's going. It's all going above the 40th parallel. Heck, the Queen of England's investing in Colorado, folks. The money knows. Start getting up. Get out of those places.
So we're back. Just going to bring Scott and Aaron back here on the line. And as always, you can come over and check out, oh, I guess I'm running a little hot there. Sorry if I blew anybody's speakers. You can come over and check out our sponsor, the Bunker Outlet, bunkeroutlet.com. We have a deal set up with Amazon where we can sell discounted prices on survival gear, so you get a really good deal, plus you help keep the show free, and we can give it out to everybody and not have to do one of those silly membership deals. So you can also come over and check out our new website. It's our new news website, conspiracyhq.com. It's updated every half hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can come over and find all the great conspiracy news and earth changes, UFOs, you name it. We have people that publish articles on it, and it's updated, like I said, every half an hour. So,
yeah, I'm here. You got me?
I got you now. Okay.
Cool.
So, Anon4355 just said they should be allowed to smoke during the show. Anyway, so Scott, when we were talking this afternoon, you sent me a link to a video that they were talking about a tsunami and earthquake preparations for the West Coast. What was the scoop with that?
Okay, that was released out of No Leak News, one of my bros. And, you know, it's basically they're prepping the people. You know, it's one of the areas on my chart of 7.0 and greater earthquakes this year. You know, do I think it's going to go this year? No. I think Japan is done. But, you know, I do expect a 7.0 on the Cascadia Range, no doubt. There's too much water. And right now is the best conditions for it as far as Japan goes. See, once you get the Arctic ice growing, because it will grow during the winter, and that ice actually starts pushing the other water out as it freezes on top. So you're getting a whole new release of water entering into the Pacific Ocean as a result of that water that's freezing up there. You know, but that stuff's it's gone. It's in the next 3 years. But you still get the same problem. It moves the water out rapidly, about 5 to 6 miles an hour. You know, or right now the boat that they're trying to break through to get up there right now is they're losing about 5 to 6 miles, I guess, a day. So it's actually pushing the boats back. So the actual breaking through the ice that they're gaining, they're losing with the pushback of the water. It's a trip, but you know that puts a lot of added water weight. You got a lot of weight. It's like Japan. You know, I was screaming for the rooftops for months and months and months. That place is going to get hammered, and you know, and then it did, and you know, and I was telling everyone why and everything else, and And, you know, as soon as it hits, you know, somebody comes out and says, oh, it was a scalar weapon and this and that and the other. And then you start seeing all the wild conjecture and stuff. And then, you know, but me, I'm patient. And then, you know, the reports from the buoys came back. And it proved that Japan's coast was sinking 3 days prior to the event. This is major weight. Only weight's going to sink a coastline, you know. And it did. You know, and it triggered a huge earthquake. And, you know, but we can predict earthquakes, folks. You know, I've already proved that right here on YouTube. You can predict earthquakes.
Well, I mean, if people want
using
proof,
ozone.
If people want proof of your predictions, just go back and listen to our archives. You were on before the Japan earthquake telling us that watch out for Japan. It's going to get hit. It's going to get hit. And March 11th, we woke up and saw that.
Yeah, now you're seeing the death of a nation. I mean, it's happening right in our face. And that was one of the G7, one of the big ones. It's like Chernobyl. You know, Chernobyl has 125,000 miles of dead zone. And that island in Japan, you know, because Japan's a whole bunch of islands. But the island where that nuclear reactor went is where Tokyo is. You're talking 30 million people. But that island that nuclear power plant sits on is only 89,000 square miles. You know, it's 3/4 the size of Chernobyl dead zone.
Wow.
So, you know, that place is done. They're lying to their people. You're seeing a death of a nation right now. And now they're starting to hear blast underneath the ground. And it's not from earthquakes. They got a China syndrome happening. They're lying to them, folks. And it's getting into the water. It's creating hydrogen gas underneath in the ground.
Scott,
and it's causing explosions.
Could you maybe explain a little bit about what China syndrome is for those that don't know?
Sure, that's when you have a melt through. Okay, instead of a melt down, you have a melt through. It just keeps melting through. And it gets into the water supply. You know, this stuff's super hot, man. It just burns. It burns through anything it touches.
So you're talking about the uranium rods that they use to I guess basically a nuclear reactor is just a big steam vessel that they use nuclear-powered rods to create the steam to drive the turbines to produce electricity. Am I correct?
Yeah, they just get super hot and it steams the water, man.
Okay, so these rods, because they haven't had heavy water on them, are starting to melt down, and they've melted through their containment chambers and down into the ground.
Oh yeah. They melted through the concrete underneath. And then with this one, I mean, you had numerous fuel pools of spent fuel rods on the second floor of these facilities. And I mean, those things are like, dang, way more radioactive than unused fuel rods. And those things blew the heck out of those buildings. You know, they're gone. They're not there.
Isn't the wisdom of that misguided, to put spent fuel rods on the second floor of a nuclear reactor?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, saved a couple bucks.
yeah, exactly. Wow, that's crazy. So what do you think's going to happen next in Japan? Like, what are we going to see this year with them?
Oh, it really doesn't matter. They're done. You know, you had these major tsunamis come through there too after the fact, and you've had so much nuclear waste go into the ocean, and they haven't even got their aftershock yet. I mean, you're going to see an 8+ quake on the upper fault, and you're going to see one on the lower fault too. You know, Shakwazia's just been blowing off like crazy. That volcano can't blow off enough steam, which is telling me that the area over where the Filipino plate is sinking, you know, and the Philippines is where they just had the fish raining down on them, you know, but they had a major water event where it swept away 2 villages. I mean, hundreds of little children. And they're not telling these people nothing. All these islands are at risk, above ground and below. Yeah, and as far as these volcanoes, they're just going to keep popping and popping and popping. It's like the ice melt that we have right now. To this moment, we've lost more ice than we've lost in the same span in 1,450 years. Okay, this ice melt we're having, we have not experienced in over, over 1,450 years. You look at the last ice melt 200 years ago. It threw the United Kingdom in an ice age for 5 years. It triggered New Madrid. It was 1812. It triggered Mount Shasta, the ice melting over here in the Pacific, and Mount Shasta blew here in California. These things have always been interconnected through the ice melting. It's an adjustment and readjustment and counter-adjustment of the planet.
Well, you've seen the super volcano in Germany they're showing signs of activating again, eh?
Yeah, and look at that report I sent you earlier on them using geothermal energy. They're going to start pumping. They're going to start fracking volcanoes, folks.
Yeah, and pumping water inside so they can create heat and energy.
Yeah, good old expansion, heat causes expansion, they break through the strata. I mean, these guys totally don't care. I mean, it's just like, wow, but it's a way of, releasing a little pressure, I guess, It's geoengineering for sure.
Maybe that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, but
pressure.
Yeah, it could be. One of those behind-the-scene things. And, they've got the geysers over here in California, but there's earthquakes on that site all the time, 24/7. And, and there's like 19 facilities there, big, huge, super massive facilities. I've been through 20 states. I've seen a lot of things. But that area is very seismically active. They do the same thing with that volcano. It's going to be seismically active over there. And who knows what kind of other pressures you're dealing with under the ground now that you're dealing with seismic creep, the earth expanding and widening, It's just science. It's happening. You're also talking permafrost melting and shifting, and that could cause moaning and groaning. But that's a big problem. The scientists just came out and stated, I guess about 2 weeks ago, that there's a methane gas release that's taking place in the Arctic Sea that has not been seen on this planet in 400,000 years. That's a big problem. That's a monster problem.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of CO2.
Yeah. It's a greenhouse gas, but it only gets worse from here. Look at the hole in the ozones now, man. I mean, there's all kinds of holes in it. Fukushima's still a meltdown.
With all the chemtrail operations, this must be screwing with the PSI of the planet, the pressure.
Well, everything's messing with this thing right now. The ice is the problem. It's your main player. All these other things they got going, they're doing, okay? And they'll even do their little wars and everything. They're just keeping everybody's minds occupied and off the problem that they can see from space. This problem's so obvious, and you're looking at the Himalayan ice pack melting, you're looking at the strata breaking over there in Indonesia, you're looking at a cornucopia of problems, and they're releasing report after report now here on the lower states, like South Carolina and Arizona and New Mexico, that all these old dormant faults are starting to show signs of awakening. Well, duh. The Earth's expanding. It's getting wider. They're just going to trigger those faults. And the problem is these nuclear reactors. You can get through an earthquake. You get through these things, but they're not telling anybody. They're not moving no one. They're taking the money and running, and allowing everyone to serve this false religion of these idols. Of incorporation. It's a false religion. It's idolatry. And it's coming right out of the White House, man. It's sad. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. They worship idols.
They do. It's called a wooden god of incorporation. A piece of wood they gave life, or paper. Talk about it in our face. But, you know, back over to that John Moore dude, you know, he was getting good intel. They just didn't, he couldn't put it together. He didn't have a background for it. Mm-hmm. But, man, and that was the first time I ever saw that video.
Oh, really?
I was going like, oh, yeah.
That's from like 2008 now, so. We had John on the air, but funny enough, about 20 minutes into the recording, it all went fuzzy, and I lost the rest of it, so. We're gonna try to get John back on here in the future to talk about it. But in those videos, I mean, he laid out the actual evidence from a detective's point of view of what was happening, and now you've come to us with the science and prophecy point of view, and I mean, it all meshes together.
Yeah, I would love to do a show with him. That'd be cool.
Well, I'll have to see if I can get him back on the air. I know he's usually pretty busy, but we'll see what we can do. You know, one thing he does talk about, though, he believes that this is this Nemesis dwarf star that's causing all this, and if I remember correctly, you don't think that's the case, or?
Well, it doesn't matter what's happening in space. Anything happening out there is just going to make the ice melt faster. You know, I mean, that's why I always say, man, just keep focused on the ice. The ice is the womb of the earth. It's in the book of Job. And her water's breaking. And now she's moaning with these groans, these labor pains, as her belly's getting bigger. You know, I mean, talk about, you know, bizarre as heck. And then you got nations rising against nation, you know, like Russia and Canada, and all these nations are lifting back up. You know, Greenland, they're rebounding in different areas. You know, you literally got nation rising against nation.
I never thought of it that way.
Stuff. Yeah, it's really trippy. You know, on a scientific level, it's trippy. You know, I mean, it's like, dang. But yeah, I can explain that whole thing that John, you know, got a couple of years ago. Yeah, that's the 2030 report. He was getting some pretty good intel, but they really didn't understand the full dynamics of this thing. They should have had me on their panel. But whatever.
Yeah, well, you know, they wouldn't want you there because you tell the truth, right?
Well, you know what? It would have gave them a better idea what they were facing. But that's cool. I'd rather tell us anyway.
Yeah, exactly. The ones that deserve to know.
Yeah.
So you don't think that there's, because I know it keeps coming up again and again and again, this thing about Planet X, or this dwarf star that's apparently causing the Earth to go through a pole shift, and that's why all these Earth changes are happening and whatnot. And I don't know. I don't see any evidence whatsoever for it.
Yeah, you know, we do have local fluff out there that's happening, and we are going through the center of the Milky Way. You know, so there's some pretty messed up stuff happening. You know, we just had the sun get hit with a big something or other here, you know, a couple of months back, and you know, we're dealing with another anomaly that comes from the sun as well, and that's that the magnetic pole thingy. It's somehow the Earth and the sun are connected to these portholes, magnetic portholes. Mm-hmm. So you know, and that came right out of NASA. That's in NASA, you know, and it happens like every 8 minutes, and when you look at you know, these weird sounds happening a couple of months after the fact, and these portholes actually open up for, you know, every 8 minutes. You know, I was thinking maybe the sound could have came from the sun, you know. So these are, you know, things that are all in play. They're all in play. Everything's in play.
Because the sun does emit its own frequency.
Yeah, and the sun's being affected by this local fluff, and that's fact. I got the NASA reports on that too. It's affecting our sun. That affects us, and you know, the ice, man. it's just going and going and going. And as far as anything else that's out there, the main player is your ice. It's just going to make everything else worse. It's the white horse, and she's going out conquering and to conquer, man. You got 80% of the world's population on coasts,
So-
or on islands.
Are we going to see like more ice reform after such a thing?
Oh yeah, we'll see ice start reforming other places on the planet. It's going to do that too. It's throwing its water around, and it'll throw its ice around too.
Okay.
So what are we talking here? The coming of another great flood, and then followed by an ice age, or what are we talking about here? The Earth's expanding.
We're talking. Yeah, we're talking a whole bunch of weird things happening, man. I mean, it only gets stranger from here.
What would be your top 5 of coming Earth changes? The things you see in the future for us?
Well, the ice is going to keep melting on record levels. You're going to see peace be taken from the Earth. They're going to start, once you get one big event after another big event after another big event, things start to unravel and fall apart, man. And it's like peace gets taken from the Earth. For the ones that don't know, the ones that are not awake, they're going to be scrambling. They're in trouble. And then with all the different plagues and pestilence that you're looking at over the next 3 to 5 years, with all the weather changes and bad populations dying, bees dying, you got so many things happening. I mean, it's going to get bad. And then the pH level being changed in the oceans. You're seeing mass death in the oceans, and we've been seeing it for pretty much about 8 months after it came on YouTube. And that has not stopped. It's going to get worse. You're going to see more and more dead fish, and that's a food source. We're losing food sources globally, and when you look at them making ethanol, using food, to make stupid gasoline, you knew they had no intentions of going to clean energy, or real clean energy. So
the real energy they know that exists.
Yeah, no, they'd rather see another couple 100 million starve to death.
Yeah. Buy wind farms.
Well, I think they know at some point a mass percentage of the population is going to be eliminated, so why worry about the environment? We'll just do what we need to do now to get ready for that point and screw the rest of them.
Well, that's their goal, Even about pollution, back in the 70s, they had a big conference saying, how are we going to accelerate this and get the world into this global warming thing? Well, we have to deregulate the companies and let them pollute the earth as much as possible and create the crisis again.
Well,
Action, reaction, solution.
That's right.
Well, and a lot of people don't remember back in the 70s, and they were talking about global cooling at that time. So
yeah, exactly.
It was global cooling, and then it was the ozone because we were using too much hairspray, and now it's we're driving too many cars, so you gotta watch that out. We're gonna have to tax you more.
Yeah, never mind that the powers that be were blowing up atomic bombs near the Van Allen belts and
exactly. Tunneling down in and dropping bombs down into the center. Let's see what happens when we drive a nuke into the sun.
Yeah.
Like what matter of men are these? Somebody asked me in the chat room earlier about the Nephilim, and do you think that there's any truth to the fact that maybe our leaders are alien, Scott?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's like the 4 horses are really the 4 living creatures, so these 4 living creatures, are the ones that are operating the horses. So it's, when you're looking at the satanic stuff they're doing, You know, we know that we're going to have a problem here with fallen angels. I mean, that's a gimme. And as far as any ETs go, I mean, all authority has been given mankind on this earth. It's our planet. Or not our God's planet, but we have authority here.
We've been having problems with the fallen angels for a long, long time. That's basically what's causing all this mess.
Well, yeah, we're caught in the middle of a spiritual war. I mean, there's a lot of things that are said in churches that are very true. It's just that it's gotten so skewed and so dogmatic that people don't really think about it for a second. But if you stop and think, that's exactly what it is. We're caught in the grand battle between good and evil. And what everybody's always like, oh, well, who owns the new world order? Well, Satan owns the new world order. That's why they support Lucifer, right? You know, like every one of these guys is a Luciferian. He's not a Satanist, he's a Luciferian, which means he believes in Lucifer being the true God and the one to emulate in this world.
Yeah, and he's living underneath the World Bank in Geneva, Switzerland anyway. Don't laugh, man.
What, you think he's actually living under the bank?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, yeah.
I've had people say some stuff, you know.
Well,
I wouldn't doubt it.
It must have something to do with Europe. I know that much because, like, every time you look into any of this stuff, it all goes back to Europe.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So, you know,
got CERN right next door. So
you got CERN, you got the Beast, the big mega computer down in Brussels.
Yeah, and you have the New World Order in the Brussels. Like, basically, Germany conquered the world without a shot.
And they have that big LOFAR antenna system. I mean, they got a lot of stuff happening over there. We're done. You know what? But God returns, and you know those dudes, flip their tables again. And until then, it's our job to flip them.
Yeah, exactly. So, well,
just our reasonable service, man. You know, stick up for the master, man. And you're gonna take the hits. You know, they're gonna attack you. They'll do whatever, man. And that just makes you stronger. You know, it makes you way stronger of a person. They just attack, and say, well, you know, hey, man, what's nothing new under the sun? I mean, sure. I just laugh at that stuff. I had a couple subs, you know, they took down videos because they were getting attacked by trolls and stuff, and so I sent them that video. Have you ever seen that video where it's 75% speed, full speed of this guy that's singing from like the 50s, and he's singing troll la 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 la, you know, like troll la la la. It's hilarious, man. So I sent that over to these videos. They started laughing and laughing. I'm going, man, you're making a boogeyman out of these people. They're nothing. You know, they're zip. They ain't coming with nothing. They hide. You know, they do whatever, man. You know, just block them and broom them. That's what I do. You know, and every time you get attacked, pull out the troll video. You know,
Well, I just ignore them. I've gotten to the point where it was like as soon as I sent you that video and you favorited it of the noises across the globe on YouTube, the amount of trolls that came out of the woodwork was just insane. Like I spent a good hour today just going through and cleaning up comments and getting rid of, you know, just the annoying people that were coming out. So they're everywhere, but you just ignore them and go on without it, I think.
Well, you look at every other activist that's ever been out there worth their salt. They took all kinds of abuse, man.
Exactly.
Look at Martin Luther King, man. They whacked him.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. If you're not getting harassed, you're not doing your job right, is the way I look at it. So.
Yeah. You know, it just comes with the turf, man. And you just get you get over it, man. I was watching some guy earlier today, man. He was going, man, I'm going to shut my channel down and stuff. Because, you know, some people are more sensitive, you know, and they can't take the attacks. And I'm going, dude, just, you know, get some backbone, man. Those dudes, they come and go all the time.
Yeah, it's only words.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I mean, I know I got annoyed at a few points where I was just ready to quit and give up and call it, you know, like, fine, you want to be like that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Aaron was the one that talked me out of it the last time, so.
Well, you know, that just tells you that we have feelings.
Yeah,
and it, you know, it's like the ones that wash their robe white during the tribulation and they're under the altar of God. He goes, you know, they're all screaming to him, when, Lord, when do we get our revenge, our payback? See, they had feelings. You know?
Yeah.
You know, God has feelings. He doesn't want you guys, you know, serving and worshiping idols. He wants you out of Egypt. He wants you free from that bondage. And these polluters, they're not going to repent. They're going to keep on polluting. This earth's, you know, in major travail right now. It's, you know, you ride it out. You know, I don't see any other alternatives. I've been talking with people behind the scenes with NRC and, you know, anybody in the nuclear field. The COP17 summit just finished, and, you know, I was talking with everyone under the sun over there, and, you know, I've always got a full plate, and then doing the sound things this week too. But, you know, I got invited to fly out to Washington D.C. and I go, I don't fly, you know. But, you know, I'll take a bus ticket, you know, so we're working on that, because then I could see all kinds of people on the way over there, and then, you know, when I'm there, and then, you know, wherever I end up, who knows.
Why don't you fly, Scott? Just out of curiosity. Why don't you fly?
Radiation.
Well, you just heard those weird, funky sounds, right? We're seeing birds flying out, you know, apples flying down on people, fish flying out of the sky.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to fly.
And then you look at all the planes that have already went down in Canada this year. What was it, 4 or 5 already, Rob?
It was 4 up here in the Northwest Territories. We had 4 in the matter of, I think it was about 4 weeks. And they were all caused by microbursts from what we can tell. There's nothing official yet.
Yeah, I mean, these are going to get worse and worse. Why the heck would I want to fly? I mean, and then you could get hit with a space quake or say a solar storm, you know, and just fry the panel board on a plane.
Well, first, before you do that, you have to get your privates bundled.
Yeah, that's the one that I love.
That could be another deterrent.
Not that I have anything against people that have immigrated to Canada, but I don't appreciate going flying and being searched by one. Like, I'm kind of like, you know, I live here. This is where I was born. I would think I would be able to just go through without being fondled, but no.
I know, yeah, everybody's a suspect. This is disgusting.
Well, that's just it, you know. Like,
this is for our security?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a New World Order freebie.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to give you a freebie.
And they have the TSA, they have a prerequisite that you have to be a degenerate to work for them.
Well, I'm starting to wonder, like, you go in and these people just, oh my God, like, I can't believe these are the ones that are screening it. If terrorism was real, they would actually pay the money to have good screeners. But what we get is the people that can't get a job anywhere else, so that's what they go and do.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Sit around and fondle old ladies all day.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not just old ladies. It's old guys. It's you little kids.
Anyway, yeah. Rip off the poor guy's prosthesis and check that, and
oh yeah.
Rip out his pacemaker. What's that you got here? Rip it out of his chest.
Yeah. That's the really sick part. Is like, I know my grandmother flew out west a couple years ago, and they like basically fondled the poor woman. And here she is. She's 85. She's obviously no threat. So why? Oh,
yeah, I know.
It's disgusting, but.
Well, yeah, it's just conditioning us to think that everybody's a suspect. that it's okay for the government to regard us as such.
Well, they're doing
yeah.
a good job of training everybody.
Yeah, it's like part of the indoctrination. New World Order just wants everybody dull, stupid, retarded.
Yeah. Here, let us do something good for you. Now, bend over and... Wow, man, they sell that stuff, man. They sell the lie all the time, man.
Safety, fear, buy it up.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's always buy, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and it only costs the taxpayers a small little fortune of, let's see, how much was the debt up? I guess we're up to $15 trillion, you know, that they stole from you and then gave it back with interest, so you can go get yourself a TSM, a fondling machine of your general order, you know. It's sad.
Yeah, and then not to mention those scanners that they actually like unzip your DNA. They have so much radiation in them.
Oh yeah. Well,
they're actually, you know, I don't know. I think they're a lot worse than just an X-ray. An X-ray is bad enough, but those scanners are really bad.
Oh, you get an X-ray from a tissue box nowadays. I mean, they have those metal tissue boxes. They're saying, "Oh yeah, metal tissue box," and they were throwing out radiation, the equivalent of an X-ray an hour.
Really?
That came. Oh yeah. Well, could you imagine having your toaster made with that kind of material, or you know, or any other appliance or silverware?
What you think they're making appliances out of depleted uranium now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're using all kinds of scrap metal. Well, you look at the levels of acceptable radioactivity in metal over there in Germany. They've been buying up metal that's radioactive. From over here in Texas, you know, some of the metal, the pipes in the hot water tanks, they don't even accept them at the scrap yards because they're too heavy or they're too radioactive. But you know, there's a third world country out there that I guarantee you will take that scrap metal.
Yeah.
They will sell it. They'll lift, you know, some kind of regulation and they'll just, you know, and then you get it back here in the United States in the form of a tissue box holder or cup holder.
Or your car.
Yeah, your car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it reminds me a lot of that old Batman movie from I think it was the late 80s, where the Joker went and put chemicals in all these different products in the store, and if you used one you were fine, but the second you started combining them you'd die. And that's kind of what we're under now. I mean, they're putting it in everywhere, and the more of it you get, the quicker they're killing you off.
That's so true, and you look at all they are messing with everything, man. With manipulations, witchcraft, sorcery, it's powered by Satan, and they're manipulating everything, especially the media. And I mean, it's a joke. It's sad. It's pathetic. And what's going on with this planet right now? It's criminal. Not telling the people. Absolutely criminal. And you know, wow, it sucks. And people better start preparing. You're going to have to ride out this next 3 to 5 years. That Arctic summer ice is going bye-bye, folks. And that ice melting over in Greenland is not going to stop.
Yeah.
You know, we got some big problems. We can be looking at an ice melt event that this Earth has not seen in 10,000, 20,000 years. Really soon here, within the next 3 or 5 years.
Yeah, well, it's not good. It's not good at all. We're coming up on 2 hours here, so why don't we start wrapping up? Scott, do you have anything you'd like to finish on, or?
Yeah, man, I love you guys, and I hope you start really taking, because I've given you the information where you can look it up for yourself, because God gave you a brain, and I'm not going to talk down to anybody. That's why I do it the way I do it, because I love you, and a dad doesn't talk down to their kids, and nobody should ever talk down to anybody. It's ridiculous. There's no point. And but the science is there, the information is there, the predictions, past predictions are there, the reports are there. You got a brain, and really give it some hard consideration, because this event's only going to get worse. It's not going to stop. And now we're going to have all kinds of other things happening too. You can't do anything about that stuff, but you can start getting prepared. You can start making out-of-state contacts. You can start taking, the measures. Get the information on what food is edible. Wild food. Wildlife food, forest